Welcome to Seat Time, everybody, the off-road show that brings you all the results, news, and online shenanigans that make being online a good time. We'd like to say thank you to Fly Racing for their support of Seat Time. Please go check them out at flyracing.com.
Welcome, everybody, to Seat Time. I am your host, Brian Pierce, here for episode 187. And luckily enough, yes, we have a guest back, thankfully. It's been so long. Mr. Brian Storrie, are you doing pretty good tonight?
I'm doing well tonight.
Yeah? Tuesday evening here in Texas?
Tuesday evening here in Texas, drinking beer.
The beer drinking bench racing show?
There we go.
I like it. Well, no, for you guys who have not checked out any of the episodes that Brian Storrie has been on before, they're definitely worth it. Brian has a plethora of knowledge when it comes to riding motorcycles, selling motorcycles, and fixing motorcycles. You've got some suspension tips out there.
I have suspension
Kinda
tips.
Crazy.
I have some suspension videos out there that apparently have been handy for folks.
So definitely search the internet. We've got a couple videos as well that he's been on, so it's going to be some fun. We're going to get some more juicy bits from him a little bit later to talk about. So even this, you'll have this video to live off of forever. It's going to be absolutely amazing. So Seat Time, the online show for the off-road enthusiasts. We are the beer drinking bench racing show that talks about all the kinds of off-road news that could go on in the world. Well, that we can cover in about an hour. So we don't try to go too crazy. It's going to be a fun episode, though. Brian and I have a lot to catch up on. He's done the ISDE recently over there in Slovakia, racing with the older division, which is still faster than pretty much everybody else around. And then, of course, all the stuff that's been going on with his shop. We've got a lot of talks that's coming up with some of the local events that's going on here in Toro, so it's going to be a good time. And then Kyle Redmond will be coming on. He's going to be on actually in a little bit here. It's going to be fun to talk to him. Just one in Perth. Lots of good stuff. Before we get in there, a little bit of house cleaning. Of course, Seat Time is brought to you by the fine folks at Fly Racing. You can go check them out at flyracing.com. I don't know if you saw some of the bitchin' high-res wares that their Fly Racing riders had, like Justin Brayton and Andrew Short, Trey Kennard at the Monster Energy Cup, but they were wearing it again when they were over in Europe racing Supercross this past weekend. Some bitchin' shit. You can get that. flyracing.com. Go check it out. Or go to your local dealer.
Adventure Moto, McKinney, Texas.
See, there you go. And but you guys carry some of the bitch and fly stuff, right?
We have new 2016 Fly in stock.
Bam! See, there it is. It's that easy. Your local dealer is definitely the best way to go. And we always talk about that on the show because we want to make sure that you don't just buy online because there's local dealers out there who need your business just as much as the online retailers do. So definitely search your local dealer first, right?
The online guy can't save your ass when you need something that day.
Like now.
That day.
So when you need a good ass saving, call up Adventure Moto and just tell them that Seat Time sent you. And I don't know what kind of a response you're going to get, but it'll be a good one. So make sure the tape is recording. Of course, Kenda Tire USA at kendatire.com. Again, this is one of those situations where you can go to the website, which is kendatire.com. Go to the online retailers and search for the Kenda Tires, or hopefully, again, your local dealer. We do know that they had a little bit of trouble stocking the Equilibriums and some of the other hybrid tires for a little bit. But is that still the case, or can you get them in stock?
They would be in stock at SMS Racing in Denton, Texas, and Adventure Moto in McKinney, Texas now.
Oh, as of now? Concurrently?
Amazingly. Concurrently.
I like the way that this is working. So again, see, we like to make sure that you know where to get your equipment at. And then, of course, find folks at stillwellperformance.com. So the great thing is that we know Brian Storrie, we're talking about, local hero here in Texas for all you racers and all you enthusiasts out there. But sometimes you're looking for a little bit of a different edge. You're looking for people that know, that talk to your type of riding a little bit differently. And that's what the guys over at Stillwell Performance can do with Alan Stillwell. Go to their website. They have a rider profile that you can feel out and send that to them. What they're going to do is they're going to give you a call, and you're going to have a one-on-one conversation, and they're going to figure out the best setup for you, your bike, and how you're going to be riding it, where you're going to be riding it, and the setup that's going to go along with that. What I really enjoy, too, is what they've done to the 4CS forks. I've got the 2015 350 XCF that we did purchase from Adventure Moto here in McKinney, Texas. And, of course, rode the bike, then sent the suspension off to Alan Stillwell, got rid of all the harsh craziness, really, really evened out the bike, and I did extremely well at the TKO, rode the shit out of it in Colorado. Really, really enjoyed what they did for my motorcycle. So stillwellperformance.com is a great place to go. Make sure that you get your off-road suspension done, and as I like to say, keep it pinned. So yes. All right, so some of the house cleaning there. Of course, if you're not in the chat room, tok.io/seattime, you can chat with us. Oh, look, we've got people in there. Angel, you are talking but are not saying much. Is that a dig? This guy. Angel. That's actually, he's in Australia. So he's at work right now doing absolutely nothing, which means the same thing. He's watching Seat Time.
He's not doing much either. Yeah.
I see what you did there. I see what you look at this guy. This is why he's on the show. This is why he's on the show. Of course, we have the chat room. The show is archived on the site, seattime.co, and of course, Stitcher and iTunes. I keep saying Stitcher, and those little shitheads will not update it. I don't know what it is. I've sent multiple emails to them. It is unfortunate, from what I can tell, and from what even they've told me when they have responded, it's unfortunately nothing on our end. And I don't know why our show is not updated, and I apologize for those of you that are Stitcher fanatics. But you can get it on iTunes, and of course, if you want, message us. I can send you the RSS feed, and then you can put it in any podcasting app that you want to use besides Stitcher, because they suck, apparently. So, and then Sellfy, Sellfy. You can go there, search for the TKO raw footage, and you could be able to purchase that for $1.99. 15 minutes of raw TKO footage. Just a little great way to support Seat Time. We'd appreciate it if you do it. So before we get Kyle Redmond on, you have had an interesting summer. You got a chance to go race in Slovakia at the ISTE, and you got a chance to see Ryan Sipes win the overall. So what was that experience like?
It's always a great experience at 6 days. It's a hard thing to explain if you haven't ever been, but just to have the chance to race for more than just yourself, and race for your country, and race for teammates, and get to see just all the other cool countries in the world, and meet the riders from the other countries. It's just something that I've become addicted to.
Right.
And there's some countries that you go to that the terrain matches up with what you're used to doing, and like Argentina last year, I was really comfortable and rode good all week. Slovakia this year was everything that a dry Texas flatlander sucks at. I knew about halfway through the first day, I was like, wow, this is going to be,
long 6 days.
It's going to be a long 6 days for me. And then, seeing Ryan win was awesome. He's a super nice guy that, the first time he was on the team was Sardinia in 2013, and I remember riding on the plane with him to get there and just talking to him, and he had a lot of questions, and was like an excited kid racer, asking all the questions he had about the event, and then see from there. Just a couple of years ago to this year, and him being the first American to overall the event, it was amazing. And I made sure I was at the finish line at his final moto, and got a video of him crossing the finish line when he finished the moto, because that was a pretty historic event.
Absolutely.
In American motorcycle racing.
How was the after party? Was the American prestige? Were we well represented?
Well represented. Yes.
Represented. I'll talk about it all the time. 2012, the after party there in Germany, when I got the party with the Australians and pretty much everybody else, because everybody's so wickedly cool.
Right.
Like, Remes, Remes is his
the Finn.
Yes,
yes.
The little guy races TMs now. He was
super fast.
Yeah,
super fast Finn.
I've never like I'd always seen videos of European dancers like at the at the digital nightclubs and shit, and it was like the pinnacle of that. Like standing next to this little dude, like just going batshit crazy on the dance floor, drinking his little vodka Red Bulls and like. Getting down. I was like, oh, I get it. I was like,
the Euros are in on the vodka Red Bull. That is the cocktail of choice for the after party.
I was with Matty Phillips hanging out most of the night, the Australian, and the whole time he's like, I'm gonna go get a drink. What do you want? I was like, a beer. I was like, and he comes back with a damn vodka Red Bull. I was like, hey, nowhere near. I woke up with the worst hangover. It was horrible, and in the Australian's bedroom, but. What can you do? At least I was just on the floor, not like in the bed with them, right?
Australian man's bedroom.
Hey, dude, what are you going to do? I was married, it's like...
No comment.
He's like, I'm not going to tell you about the time that it happened to me.
No, but it's just a great experience being there. And any of you guys out there watching from any country, just if you ever get a chance to go... It's a great vacation for any motorcyclist, just to go just there's two events going on. There's the race that goes on all week, and then there's the party that goes on all week.
And then, the beer gardens.
Absolutely, but it's just an event to see, and they usually put them in places that are interesting places, that are good vacation places. So there's stuff to do with the wife and stuff to do with the friends, but just an awesome trip. If you ever get a chance to go, people find a way to go to 6 days. It's one of the motorcycle events of the world.
Right on. Well, definitely, we'll catch up a little bit more with 6 days as it comes in. Talk a little bit about Brian's extremely great riding, as he put it about 5 minutes ago there over in Slovakia.
Out there.
But of course, we've got Kyle Redmond on as our guest this evening. He is hiding in his brother's house. I think he's actually in the closet right now. So Kyle, how is your evening going? Are you home? Are you like back on your own time zone yet?
Yeah, it's going good. Just hanging out with my brother all day. I'm in the baby room right now.
You're in the milk room?
Yeah, he just came home to a new nephew, actually born on Sunday, so I missed it by 1 day.
Ah, dude, that sucks that you missed it, but that's awesome that you get a chance to come home to such an awesome, cool gift. We didn't even know, man. So is this your first kind of nephew or niece in the family?
Second nephew.
So what do you think about being an uncle? At times you're responsible for life, bro.
I know, it's fun. I love it. It's always good to hang out with him, and he's 1.5 right now, so he's starting to be like really, really fun. So I love it.
I know. My youngest, Nora, was 19, 20 months old right now, and I swear she hit about that 17-month mark, and it was like we get out of the bathtub and we spend 30 minutes laying on the bed, and that's like I tickle her, we roll around, and it's just a giggle factory, and it is such a weird experience. I don't know how any human being can't just completely melt in those situations. It's so awesome. So that's awesome that you get to experience that being an uncle. And one day you're gonna forget to pull out. You're gonna have your own children. It's gonna be awesome.
It gets better until about 13, and then it starts to.
And then they forget to pull out, and you're like,
no. But yeah, kids get better for a bunch of years, and then they seem to go the other way for a couple of years, and then eventually they go back the right direction. So.
I'm with Kaylin being 9. I know that I'm.
You're still on the
I'm
upswing.
still on the upswing, but we know
upswing.
at some point we're going to go back down. So apologies if anybody took any offense to that. Obviously, we're just having fun, and I'm just kind of goofy when it comes to some of that kind of stuff. But dude, so Kyle Redmond, congratulations on coming home to another nephew, because that's even more bitching that you've got 2 of them. But you probably are super jet lagged. You just kicked butt in Australia, and apparently you were over there for a whole week. Now, was that acclimation, or was that just because that's kind of like the way your trip got a chance to work itself out?
Yeah, well, it's kind of weird flying over there because the time difference is so crazy, and it's 20 hours. So you're on a plane, and I left Monday, but I arrived on Wednesday, so it's kind of weird. I spent probably 4 of those days, it felt like, on an airplane.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
It's brutal.
Have you flown Australia?
Yeah, I did 6 days in. Oh gosh, that was a long time. 98, 6 days there.
Year
and
after I graduated high
it's
school.
a brutal trip over there. I mean, flew from DFW to LAX, and then LAX to I think Melbourne, and then from there another flight to where the race was. It was a brutal trip getting there and a brutal trip back.
So you went to Perth where the event was at. So where did you fly into, and then how did you get to Perth? Was it a flight to Perth?
Yeah, so I flew from LAX to Sydney, and then it was another 4.5-hour flight to Perth, because Perth is on the west coast.
Okay.
It's pretty much as far away as you can get.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing. It's like if you're going like LA to New York. I mean, like they're just totally on the other ends of the continent. Now, from what I understand, you got kind of the call up to head to this race a little close to heading out there, right? I mean, how did it come about? Excuse me, that you got a call up to head to the event and head down there to race.
Yeah, actually, I got a text from Russell Bobbitt, and I've known him for a while. We were friends and everything. So he was supposed to go, and I guess he like tweaked his back or something, so he couldn't make it. Oh. He was like looking for a replacement, and I had an off weekend, And so I was like, yeah, why not?
Right. And
free trip.
Now you got a
Australia.
$5,000 paycheck.
Yeah, I mean that tops it off, right?
Right. So how much of that did you have to give to Russell Bobbitt?
We haven't spoke about it yet.
All right, that's even better. They just, I don't know, blow.
No.
Strippers and blow, it's all gone. Strippers and blow.
I probably won't see him for a while, so I'll be like, oh, sorry, I spent it.
Smart move. So you were on a beta, which is awesome because you ride for beta, so that worked out.
Yeah.
And you had your number 7 on the bike and everything. So when this kind of came into fruition for you, were you able to send your bike to Australia, or did you get hooked up with a beta there in Australia that they dialed in for you? How did your setup, get to the fine country of Australia?
So usually how it works, nobody really ships a bike around unless you're like super rock star. So
Right.
I just hopped on a bike. I think it was even a 2014, but it was fine. Like they're all the same pretty much. You just bring your suspension, handlebars, and just go race. I mean, it's not a big deal. I don't like to be too picky and, get too crazy about it. So I just brought it all in my bag, and whatever I brought is, what I put on the bike, and that was bars, suspension, and a tire.
Oh, and was it like a special gummy tire?
Yeah, I brought a Kenda like gummy just for it makes it better for the Endurocross thing. You don't want to run a moto tire.
Right. Say it again. What brand was that?
Kenda.
Oh, did you win on a Kenda tire?
Yes, I did.
It's so nice. One of their gummy tires that you can purchase from your local dealer.
Yeah.
It's so amazing. Now, Brian, you've done a lot of traveling, a lot of riding and stuff like that. What have you had any pitfalls when it comes to kind of what Kyle's talking about, where you've got to ship certain things?
I was going to ask Kyle if he has had any trouble in the past getting his suspension on the flights, because I know that's been trouble in the past for a lot of people. So did you have to do anything special with your suspension, any way you packaged it, or did you just literally put it in your gear bag?
Just labeled it sex doll and nobody wanted to touch it?
Yeah, it's honestly, you never know. Like I've lost 2 sets of forks in the past, which is just a big, it's a big expense.
Yes.
And I've also had it where when I was, like checking in at LAX, they were like, "What's this?" And I told them, and they're like, "Oh, you can't fly with this." So I just left it there, and then my dad came and picked it up. And yeah, they're so dumb. They don't know what they're doing. Like it says in their rules that you can bring shock absorbers on the on the flight, but they don't really know what it is. They're just like, one person will say yes, one person will say no. I mean, it pisses me off. I've lost like a lot of money because of it.
Yeah, I bet. Is there now shock absorbers? I love that word because it definitely makes me think of elastomers from the early 90s in mountain bikes. They're like, no, shock absorbers, yes. When this has oil and springs and dampening, I don't know. It's a little technological. Probably don't want to fly with that. They're like freaked out about it.
Yeah, they just don't know what it is. I mean, I've heard the same story he told a few times where they just held it. They didn't know what it was, and they weren't sure, so they just held it. And
like, I'm not losing my job over this. You can't take it.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, it can completely mess up your trip. You know?
I bet.
Yeah, because I mean, who would think that pro riders would be head cases? But it happens. So and they get attached to suspension and get attached to tires and things like that, and can make things difficult.
It seems to mainly happen coming into the country to me, So
coming into the U.S., coming home.
Yeah, that's when it's happened to me both times where I lost my suspension. So.
Wow, lost forks. That's high dollar.
Yeah.
Losing sets of forks.
And a lot of times
brutal.
too, like Kyle, this is the first year that you've really kind of not been a privateer status. I mean,
yeah.
And so in the past, when you're talking about losing forks, you're talking about money that you put out. Now, say it's somebody like a Graham Jarvis or a Johnny Walker. A lot of the times, those are cone valve forks that somebody put on it. He probably didn't even carry them to the airport. But somebody like yourself who's doing that, that's your $4,000 or $5,000 right there in the case, not a company's.
Yeah, I mean, in the Super Enduros, it happened to me last year when I was full privateer, and I couldn't ride for 2 months. I had no forks on my bike at home, so I literally didn't ride for like almost 2 months. And then I finally knocked up bought some, It sucked. Like I saved money or whatever, but
Well, you know, Not that I'm rich or anything, but I'm sure Brian Storrie's got a pair of beaters lying around. Next time we'll make sure that you get those.
Yeah.
I honestly have extra forks and shots.
See, we could do this. He's off the privateer island. He's on beta now. He's got this.
Yeah, I lost Beta's forks too this year, so
Oh well.
that was a little easier.
Is that a phone call? You're like, guys, they didn't come in.
Yeah, I was like, sorry, I don't know, but I tried to get them back and went through the whole process. They sent me a check for $300. So the airline did. They're like, oh, you didn't provide a receipt. I was like, well, you didn't tell me to. And then it was like 3 months later, and it was like, I don't know, it was like too late. I lost all the information. Just like, whatever. It was a loss.
I lost a WP rear shock, and anyway, they sent me a check for $100. That's what I got for the WP rear shock. It's pretty tough to replace one of those for $100.
Yeah, I mean, pretty. Yeah, yep. You as a dealer, that's really not even much help.
No, I didn't even sniff it. It wasn't even close.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the race. So you got a chance to go down there to Perth to race the International Perth Endurocross for 2015, kind of at their little moto complex that they had going on down there. How was the event?
Yeah.
How was the track? How did it compare to kind of like what we're used to seeing, at the more traditional Endurocross events here in the States?
Yeah, so I mean, it was pretty similar. It was outdoor. That was a little different. So it rained a lot the day before, so the track was pretty slick, to begin with, and kind of wet. But I'd say it was pretty fast. Like, didn't have any big significant like rock piles or, I had a wood pile, but it was pretty easy. And yeah, it was pretty fast and easy, honestly, like kind of moto-y.
Now for comparison, when I hear fast and easy, I think X Games. Is that, how would it compare to that? Even faster and easier, or?
Well, take X Games and then don't have the rock pile that they had there. So, and then, it didn't have like huge jumps. Like X Games kind of sets up jumps, but it was just,
Yeah, where this year you guys jumped that metal ramp and shit.
Yeah, we didn't have that kind of stuff, but I like the track. I mean, it was fun. It was fun to just go pin it and, feel good.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. It looked like it was a lot of sand. Now, was that just kind of the way that some of the videos came across and some of the pictures that we saw, or was it really just a sand-based track?
No, there was like no sand at all. Actually, it was clay. It was fully clay.
So
what the hell were you
I
watching?
gotta stop looking. I gotta stop taking drugs in the morning.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe it was just because it looked like roost was coming out and it just kind of looked sandy.
Maybe.
I don't remember any sand. So.
Well, you were the racer, so we'll go with what you say.
It was like really hard clay.
Yeah.
What'd you have for competition?
Yeah, Graham Jarvis was there. He's
that guy.
Everybody knows who he is, right? But Endurocross really isn't his thing. So and it was a fast, easy Endurocross too. So he was kind of like, whatever, But this other guy, Daniel Sanders, was there, who is extremely fast. He was I guess he was 4th overall at ISTE.
Yeah, and he won the E3 class at the ISTE. So he was fast.
The Australians right now are like killing it. So they're pretty insane. But yeah, I mean, he was my main competition. Actually, he almost won. Like, I had a pretty decent lead and I fell over, and then he was right on me, and yeah, he passed me, and then he ended up messing up, and I passed him back, and then he was right on me till the end, but then he crashed, I guess, on the last lap. So
yeah, and that's kind of, it seems that it's unfortunate that sometimes that seems to be the Endurocross mantra, is that, if you can get that lead and you can kind of make a little bit of a stretch, start to back it off. Like, figure out that game that mental game that you can play to start to slow down, so you're not pushing it to 100%, but at the same time you're not really letting the person in second or third or whoever's really close catching you back up. Because it seems like, as you guys progress into these 10 and 15 lap events, obviously you're getting more tired. The fatigue is starting to set in, so there's more susceptible to making mistakes. So,
Yeah.
so how do you? And obviously, it bit you in the ass. It bit Daniel Sanders in the ass, and then you got to make back on him, and you got the win. But I can imagine that that's happened to you a lot in the Endurocross here in the States. So, mentally, how do you try to? Do you even care about that, or is it just hold on for 15 laps and call it good?
I mean, really, these days you gotta just go for it for
Okay.
15 laps. Like, I mean, if you're not, then you're going slow. Really, I mean, everybody's kind of going for it, and yeah, I mean, I'd say I was kind of like taking it easy almost, but I still fell over, so it wasn't.
Yeah.
That's part of what makes Endurocross the greatness that it is, though.
Yeah.
It's just so unpredictable.
When was the last time you've done a couple, right? Have you done Vegas?
I've done Vegas a couple of times. But
That's always a gnarly one with Vegas.
I did at least one national for 6 or 7 years in a row. I haven't been in a couple of years though, but yeah, I mean, you're trucking along and you think you're killing it, and you're like, oh yeah, I got the line figured out here, and then the next lap you're stuck underneath your motorcycle and you don't know what happened. And you're just like, well, what was that? And and then you're trucking along again, having it all dialed, and then you go through the wood pile and one hits you in the center of the cases and launches. I mean, the whole thing's just so unpredictable, and I mean, I would just go for a fun vacation.
Right.
I never had really any expectations, so I would just go to have a great time and race and if I go to I can take a vacation to race a motorcycle. And all my customers are usually, they're right behind me, so
meaning they're paying for it? Or?
No, they're not paying for it, but anyway,
but they get hooked up on those trips.
But they're cool with me taking a vacation and not being at the shop helping them out if I'm racing a motorcycle. So those are good vacations.
Those are positives.
Those are positive vacations, yeah. And it's got good stories to tell when you come back too. So
it sounds like you and I need to go to Vegas.
Yeah, we should go. I'd go back to Vegas.
Technically, I'm a customer.
Yeah, I'd go back and do Vegas again.
All right, Kyle, you in for Vegas?
Yeah, of course.
We could be like with or without motorcycles. I don't really care at this point. So we're talking about vacations. We're talking about good times. You in Australia. Now, obviously, you win in this race. You getting some extra money in your pocket. That's awesome. I'm super, super stoked that you were able to do that. But what other kinds of stuff did you partake in while you were in Australia? And that we're beer drinkers. We talk about stuff that most people want to ignore, but that's okay. That's not what this show's for. There's the bench racing aspect of it as well. So I have to say, we've had some Australians on the show before, and we always talk about, Australians with their accent, American women, and we've always had the question, American man with an American accent in Australia, what is it like? How do the Australian women respond to that American accent? I mean, you're a good-looking man too, so I mean that's got to help.
I think it's kind of the same deal, They're like haven't heard it or something, so they think it's cute or whatever. I don't know. Same with Australian guys over here can get our girls, right?
Right.
I
think it goes both ways,
The American thing goes well over there. So, yeah.
So how well did it go for you over there, Kyle?
Well, I mean, it didn't work out for me, but I'm sure it works out for a lot of people.
He's like, it went well enough, but not as well as it should have.
Yeah.
So one thing that's been a huge deal in the past couple of years in the States is the craft beer scene. We've seen all of this stuff out there. And so I kind of want to know, in Australia, now you may not be a beer drinker, but you've probably saw or noticed things that might have been going on at the different bars and stuff like that. Yeah. What is there a kind of a craft beer scene down there in that sense where there's a lot of maybe smaller breweries and stuff like that, or is it really just kind of big names?
We did go to like a brewery one night, the night before the race actually, and it was kind of like, I don't know, kind of like a hipster scene there, actually. A lot of weird people dressed all funny, kind of like when you go to downtown LA or something. It was similar. So.
Race prep the night before the race.
Yeah, it's carbo loading, right?
Proper race preparation. There you go.
I was eating pizza, so
pizza,
that was good.
Pizza and beer. I mean,
pizza and beer.
That's been a winning formula for years, right?
It really does sound more American than Australian, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, when you're jet lagged, and I find it easier to sleep if I have a couple beers or something. I mean, I've spent all night up before races when I'm in Europe, and hey, a couple beers aren't going to hurt me if I can sleep, right? So it's kind of how I view it when I'm jet lagged and not in another world.
Yeah. No, that's
know?
a super good point. And jet lag sucks. I hate the handful of times that my wife and I have been lucky enough to travel overseas, and like you get there, you're like, don't take a nap, so you get on the stupid tour bus and you do the tours and you try to like just fight and stay awake, and then you go pass out. But we're hiking around, we're walking. There's no thought of physical activity involved. So when you guys have to go over there and race a dang motorcycle, and at the level that you guys do that, that's got to be like darn intense. So you get there on a Wednesday, Australia Wednesday, and then you race. And then the race was Saturday night.
Saturday.
So I mean, how acclimated were you by then? It seems like Saturday you would be okay, but since you're flying forward, I mean, was it just too weird?
Yeah, I mean, I felt pretty tired. Like I was super tired for the racing, honestly. And yeah, I probably slept. I mean, the first night I was there, I slept pretty good, but other than that, I got like 6 hours every night. So
nice.
It was kind of hard to keep up or catch up, you should say, right? But yeah, I mean, they made us do 4 races also. So there was like 3 heat races that didn't really count for anything. They were just races. And then the main was 15 laps, and it was like over a minute lap time. So, I was pretty tired, honestly. Like I was feeling things that I don't normally feel. Like I was dehydrated. Like I was kind of cramping a little bit already, which never happens in a race like that. That's Endurocross. That's a sprint.
Right.
So it definitely wasn't like 100%, normal. But
I hear you. One day, dude, you'll get there. I'm just kidding. You're already there. I'm the one who's trying to catch up at this point in life, man. It's ridiculous. So you're back in the States. Congratulations on the awesome shit that went on in Australia. But you did something else even cooler before you went that's now kind of like coming into light for everybody, and that's the new movie Get Lost. You're kind of one of the featured writers there. You're good friends with Wiley Watson. You've been in a lot of his feature films that he's put out. Kind of tell us about your parts in this movie. Where are you riding? And I noticed that in the trailer, you talk a lot about the free riding aspect of what you kind of bring to the table. So kind of talk to us about that as well.
Yeah, so, me and Wiley, we go way back now, and I've been in quite a few of his films, but this one's more, just going out, and obviously the titles Get Lost. So,
yes.
We just, actually we went to Bishop first, which is where it all started with me and him. That was like the very first movie I was ever in, was filmed in Bishop. So, we just spent more time, spent like 3 days out there, and then, that's kind of like more my passion of what I like to do is just, it's what I grew up doing. So, trail riding and finding cool things to jump off of and rocks and whatnot is kind of like what I do for fun. Like,
right.
So I kind of fit into that. And we also went to Wyoming, which was amazing. That terrain up there was just crazy. You guys got to see the mountains there that they have. See it on the film, obviously, but it was insane. I've never ridden such big mountains that are pretty open. Like you could just go wherever you wanted. I was there a couple months before we filmed, and it was a little bit better because the grass had grown up when we were filming. So we were kind of limited a little bit, but it was still, once you get above the tree line and everything, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah. And were you on your 300RR?
Yeah, I was on my bike. I was up there for a race in Montana, Evil Cross, that some Endurocross race that we all did. It was me and Nick Thompson was there, Corey Graffunder, Jeff Aaron, and Colton Hacker was there as well. So I did that race in Montana. Then me and Corey, straight after, we did the filming, which was close. And then straight after that, we went back to Coeur d'Alene to do another race. So the whole week was racing and filming. So I got a ton of riding in.
Yeah.
It was good. Made some good money and just rode my dirt bike.
The life. When you get above the tree line, and we all kind of notice this. We've ridden in Colorado, ridden in different places up in the mountains. The tree lines. You get to that point where you start to notice a little bit of power difference in your motorcycle. So when you guys are filming, what is your preparation for that? Because a lot of the times, you'll start at obviously a lower level than where you will be riding.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that, I would imagine that's kind of the same case when you guys are filming. So do you rejet for where you know you're going to be filming, or does it, you just kind of ride it and run what you brung or whatever?
Yeah, I kind of just rode my bike how it was. It didn't seem to affect it too much. I don't know why, but yeah, Corey, he jetted his bike like on the trail. He just changed the needle, I think, and it's not that bad, I guess. Sometimes you just deal with it.
Yeah.
And we're not like, we start, pretty low, so you don't want the bike to be, different down there. And it's such a range.
Yep.
So it's kind of hard to predict for. And also, you got temperature and everything that matters too. So I kind of just ran my bike how it was, and it seemed fine. Whatever I run for the race that I was up there for, and it worked.
There you go. Yeah, too much math on the trail. Nobody wants to do that. That's why you like EFI now, huh?
Yeah, it's easy to do though. Like on the trail, if you just change the needle, the clip position, it's pretty simple.
So that's like, for you guys, that seems to be a pretty quick, fast, easy fix without having to change out the jets.
Yeah, that's a pretty easy fix.
Well, we've kind of just changed out jets before, haven't we? Just kind of.
Well, I've done a little bit of both, but the bigger bikes, like a 300 two-stroke, like he's riding, is not going to be super affected until you get really high up. Now, obviously, it's not going to be as perfect as it would be what it was set up for,
right.
But it's still going to be totally rideable.
I guess it's just because there's so much of a range in the 300 where if you were like on a 125, you're already down on power at that point. Like you'd really start to notice it.
Oh, yeah. Like the little bikes, you got to make sure they're spot on.
Like perfect.
Yeah. Or they're going to run like crap. But with a 302 stroke or a 454 stroke or something like that, it's not going to make that terrible big difference.
Interesting.
Some difference.
So, obviously, we're excited about Get Lost. And Kyle, what would you say? Are you kind of like the sexiest rider in the picture?
In the picture?
Yeah,
you mean
like
the
in
film?
the film? Yeah, the film. In the moving picture?
No, I wouldn't say that. We're all pretty sexy.
All right. I like this guy. He's like no ego whatsoever. So, if you were to have an ego and be like, hell yeah, I'm the sexiest guy in the moving picture, how would you like agree to that?
How would I agree to that?
Yeah, how would you be like, bleh, like you're like an egotistical guy and you just like want to be like, yeah, I'm sexy.
I just let people do it for me. I don't say things like that ever. So
bam, that's even better.
That's way better.
If you could do it and it's fine. Like it doesn't sound bad to me. But if I say it, it just doesn't come out right, and I just won't say that.
Perfect. I like it. Well, we're obviously excited about Get Lost. For those of you who may not know what we're talking about, this is going to be a new off-road film. All the trailers online. You can search for it on YouTube. We even talked with Wiley Watson, I would say about 3 episodes ago. You can go find that to learn a lot more. He got really in-depth. Obviously, we do a lot of filming, and we had Rob Mitchell in the chat room, so he asked a lot of very specific questions. So if you're kind of into that, definitely check that out because Wiley brought a lot of information, a lot of filming knowledge as well into that episode. So we're going to have a Dallas premiere of Get Lost. So they've had 2 so far on the West Coast, both is kind of associated with different events. Well, we're going to have one here in Dallas, November 16th. It's unfortunately a Monday, but it's just what it has to be. Like it's so expensive, unfortunately, to rent theaters because Dallas is just such a big theater. And obviously Thursday, Friday, and Saturdays are much more expensive than other days during the week. So we're going to have our Dallas premiere here November 16th. If anybody's in the area or around and wants to come, we're going to have the link in the show notes on YouTube and on the site, of course. So you can just click that and it'll take you to the Eventbrite link. And hopefully we could see you at the event. Now, Kyle, what city, like where you're at?
I usually fly out of Burbank.
Burbank? I'm going to write that down. Do you have a mountain bike?
Yeah, I got a Cannondale mountain bike.
Okay, you and I are going to talk. When this afternoon, or in your case afternoon, in my case evening, are you going to be back in cell reception?
Probably hanging out here for a while. We got some wine and pizza.
There you go. All right, so I'm going to text you. I got some questions for you for that weekend, and possibly some other fun times.
What's the weekend? What's the date?
14th, 15th, 16th, and 17th.
It's next weekend, right? After this one.
Correct. Not this weekend, but the following.
I might be in Mexico, honestly, but
I'm still gonna text you because you haven't
All right,
said no
text me.
yet. I'm gonna text you and be like beep 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 beep. It's gonna be fun. Well, dude, congratulations! I'm so glad that you got a chance to head down to Australia and show those dudes, more people around the world, what you have to offer, not just as a dirt bike racer, but as a person. We've had you on the show multiple times, and I love having you on because of exactly what you were saying when I was trying to get you to talk ego, because you don't. You're such a down-to-earth dude, and I love that about you. You don't let anything go to your head, and I just pray that always stays with you, because that's such an awesome, admirable aspect, and enough of us can't be in that same headspace long enough. It's so cool, and I'm so glad that you're getting more and more opportunities. You've left Privateer Island. Beta seems to be treating you really well. Your results have proved it, the way you're riding, the way you're acting, all that kinds of stuff, and then going to Australia and kicking butt against all those dudes, that's some kicking shit. So congratulations, dude. You're really, really kicking butt, and we're proud of it for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then
Really nice of you.
Uncle times two, right?
Yeah, I got to make him proud.
There it is. I like it, dude. Well, hey, man, you get back to the family. Enjoy the wine and pizza and family, and we appreciate you coming on the show.
All right, guys. Have a good night.
Absolutely, man.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Thanks. Bye.
I know. Sometimes it's one of those deals. I really, really do enjoy Kyle Redmond. And for all the reasons that I just mentioned. Like, I mean, when was the last time you really talked to somebody that's just kind of like that mellow and that's just like really that chill about everything?
Hey, guys that kick ass like that, they don't have to talk themselves up. I mean, he goes out there and
Yeah, that's true.
puts it down on the track.
I know.
So he doesn't have to say anything about it.
He's like, I let my riding speak for me, for sure. So Brian Storrie his riding can speak for him. But I mean, at 42, you could kick a lot of like young whippersnappers' butts. So I think you're doing pretty awesome. So, but I wanted to talk a little bit about what we're kind of looking at here with Toro. Now, one of the things that we talked about a couple weeks ago is when they announced that Toro, our local kind of winter series, was going to try to start off the series with a sprint enduro. But if you look at the flyer and if you kind of look at what everybody says, it's obviously not in what we have become used to in the traditional sprint enduro format, and even in an enduro format where there's really no knowledge ahead of time of what's going to be happening. But in Texas, it's weird, and we know that, and we could admit to it. Like, people don't want to come to a race weekend and not get practice. They don't want to come race unless they can know what they're racing. So kind of talk a little bit about how this weekend's going to work, because I'm still kind of like, I guess, uneducated on how the weekend's going to be approached.
Well, here in Texas, good or bad, we're in our own little racing world here. And the people in Texas have become accustomed to having practice on Saturday. And, I have become a fan of it. I grew up half motocross and half enduro.
Right.
And actually did that for 10 years before I got into cross-country racing. But then I saw the Saturday practice aspect of the cross-country racing and the way it became. I mean, it's a social event, and it's just a great way to get new riders to the races as well. You get a lot of people coming out and riding practice so that they can be on a track going the same direction with a bunch of other motorcyclists. They're not by themselves. If they don't have normal riding partners, they don't have to worry about some jackwagon in a UTV mowing them down, going the wrong way down the trail.
Which we know happens.
Yeah, and so a lot of people get into racing here in Texas because they start going and riding the Saturday practices on the private tracks, and then they see that it's not as intimidating as they thought it was going to be, and they end up being a racer. And Toro has been our winter series for 15 years now. I was one of the original 6 board of directors that started the series. So I have a personal attachment to it in that way. And then I've always promoted races in Toro as well. Not every year, but most years I've promoted 1 or 2 races. And but I've always been a believer that variety is the spice of life. I tell my friends and customers that when you get a new motorcycle, get something different from what you had before.
Yep.
If you had a 4-stroke, get a 2-stroke. If you had a 2-stroke, get a 4-stroke. If you had a little one, get a big one. If you had a big one, get a little one. and go ride in as many different places as you can. Try as many different formats as you can. I've got some enduro buddies that I've taken to some vet motocross tracks and that have totally gotten into that. And I've got some motocross buddies that I've taken to cross country races and they've gotten into that. And it's all motorcycling. It's all good. It's all fun. It's all good for the soul and good for the body. And, but with Toro, it's Texas Off-Road Racers Organization, and there was never really anything that said it had to just be a cross-country
right in the bylaws
hair scramble
kind of
type series. There's nothing that said it had to be that. And so we're like, we were looking at ways to get some more excitement and get some enthusiasm, and they made the AMA decided this year to make the East Coast ISDE team qualifier one of the Kenda full gas sprint enduros.
Which you and Travis Christ.
Yeah, so me and one of our buddies, Travis Christ, who was on the board of directors in the Texas Enduro circuit at the time, we went to the Sprint Enduro, and we had heard about him in Europe for a couple of years, and I know me and you and several other friends, we'd said, that sounds like a great way to have fun and do enduro-style sprinting, but on a smaller piece of property. And me and Travis went to it, and we had a really good time, and frankly, the format was really easy to understand, and we were like, man, we need to bring this kind of racing to Texas. And then a couple of months later, we had the opportunity to go to another one in Indiana. The first one was in West Virginia, but we had a kind of a dead period at work, and had an opportunity to go. Drew Higgins, who rides out of my shop and won the AA championship in the National Enduros this year. He was going to be heading to one of the National Enduros that would be sort of along the way to the Sprint Enduro with another one of our friends, Matt Crouch, and then another good buddy of ours, Cole Kirkpatrick, who does some filming for KTM. We knew that he was being sent up there to do some filming of the Kenda Full Gas Enduro. So all four of us ended up there. Drew and Matt drove up there and hauled my bike, and I flew in, and we raced a second one. And different terrain. They ran it a little bit differently, but for the most part it was the same, but just really, really enjoyable form of racing. At both events, I went around and talked to lots of the people that were there. Racers, wives, fathers. I just talked to everybody around to see what they thought of the format. And I didn't run into anybody that didn't seem to enjoy the camaraderie of the downtime between tests. You run a test, and then you've got a little bit of time to go back to your camp, swap racing stories with your buddies, maybe change your setup, maybe straighten out your bent handlebars. You get a drink, you get something to eat, and but just everybody seemed to really appreciate the format and really enjoy the format. The intensity of the racing is really high.
Yeah, you can tell those guys are always pushing it.
Yeah, it's really, really high intensity. It's just like a special test at 6 days. So we knew we wanted to try to bring this to Texas, but because of the way people have been brought up and trained basically here in North Texas with being able to practice on Saturday, we felt like doing the Sprint Enduro with no practice would be too much of a format change from what Toro was traditionally done as. And, when we did talk about doing it with no practice, we got a lot of kickback of people saying, well, when am I going to ride with my son? When am I going to ride with my buddy that's a different skill level? And so we're doing it our own way here. We're going to run a Sprint Enduro on Sunday that's going to be done really, really similar to the way they're done at the Kenda Full Gas Sprint Enduros. Sunday will be pretty much identical to how they do it. But on Saturday, we're still going to run practice on Saturday. We're going to have 2 4-mile loops set up, and from 11 a.m. till 3 p.m., we're going to allow open practice. You can go ride both tracks as much as you want to ride. And so, in theory, just talking with customers and friends and whatnot about it, if I didn't have to work on Saturday, I would probably go run Test A, which the what we're going to call Test A at this first property is actually going to be pretty tight and technical. But I would go run that 3 or 4 times and make sure I had it dialed, and then I would go to Test B, and which is going to be much more open and fast. I'm trying to make the 2 tests as much different as possible. So one's more of a cross test and one more of an enduro test. Yeah. We are also going to have alternates in the tests. TORO traditionally has what we call blue lines, where the main trail is marked with pink ribbon. And if you see blue ribbon, the rule book says it's a harder alternate that, if completed successfully, is faster than the primary line.
You know, we've been called out before our choice of color there.
Oh, really?
So like pink being the easier, like a woman, and blue being the harder, like a man.
God bless us here in America. We get too offended.
Right?
Easy.
I know. I was like, by all means, in honesty, the person that called us out was in jest. You know, they were just kind of like, "Oh, we see what you did there." We were like, damn it, you're right."
It's real though.
I was like,
it's real. Being on the BOD in a couple of different circuits over the years, it's amazing how easily someone can get offended if one class starts in front of another class.
Shut up.
Oh my gosh. Let's just
I
race
just
and
don't think I
have
ever
fun
told you about that, and I thought it was hilarious that somebody brought that up. When we were talking about it, they were like, "I see what you do with the ribbons." We were like, oh.
Really? You're like, really? But anyway, we're going to have some blue line alternates, so we're still going to have some really technical stuff that if people want to take a risk-reward situation in the heat of battle, they get to make that choice and decide whether they want to do that. But the basic breakdown of the weekend is going to be come out. The gates are going to be open Friday night, this Friday night, and they'll be back open early Saturday morning. And you don't have to join the circuit. You don't have to buy a race entry. You can just pay your gate fees and ride practice. And then if you can't take it, then you can go ahead and join the circuit and sign up for the race for Sunday.
I gotta do it.
Practice will run 11 to 3 Saturday afternoon. Our 50 and 65 races will run on Saturday afternoon, just like they always traditionally have, and they will be the traditional format. The kids will race for a set amount of time. So Saturday will be no different from how Toro's been the last few years.
Right.
Come Sunday morning, the morning is going to go just like it has the last few years, with a little practice and then riders meeting in church, and then we're going to line them up and stage people for the first race. I believe that me and Travis and a couple of other guys that have been to a couple of nationals will help stage and start the test for the first race, just to make sure everything's dialed.
It said short, super short, long. So is that still kind of like the way that you guys are setting it up, in the sense that it's like anybody that's in the short program, and we kind of know what that means class breakdown wise. But are they kind of like starting first, or are you guys still going to start fastest guys first?
I expressed to TORO, and I'm not on the board or on staff anyway this year. I'm just a staff emeritus, something like that. I can't remember. They gave me a crazy title a few years back where I don't get to vote on anything, but I can actually say my opinion. But I expressed to TORO in a really good meeting we had this past Sunday that I believe we should go to 2 races on Sunday, just like the Kenda Nationals do. Instead of our traditional 3-race format.
Right.
Just because in the Sprint Enduro format, you have the break where you get to go back to your camp for 20 minutes after each test. With 3 races, I believe that would make the day go too long.
Oh, yeah.
I think if we can make it just 2 races, I believe we can get everybody all the racing they want and get them home a couple hours earlier. So I believe we're gonna split it into 2 formats, and the TORO staff was going to be looking at all the classes from last year,
try to kind of figure
out where that breakdown was going to be, and making an announcement sometime in the next day or so, so people can plan ahead.
I was thinking while you were talking about this, is that one way to maybe possibly still have the practice on Saturday, but then still have an unknown to Sunday. It would be, if you're going to have open practice on A and B on Sunday or Saturday, then on Sunday, those tracks that they've now practiced on are just run backwards for the race. So they get their practice, and they're going to have an idea what it's going to be like backwards, but they never get a chance to actually run it backwards. So then it still brings the element of the enduro idea of the unknown. But then you still get the open practice idea of Saturday.
And I would be okay with that kind of idea, because I think the whole idea of practice isn't necessarily for most of the riders, it's not really about the practice and getting that track absolutely dialed down to the finest point. It's more about the camaraderie and family aspect of riding together on Saturday to the majority of our members.
Yeah, no, and I agree with that. It's just like, I just think that there should still be some
mystery to it.
I like the idea of that behind those enduros.
I like being able to read terrain. I'm an old school enduro rider too, so I love the idea of having to be able to go fast and figure it out as you go. As long as the promoter does a good job and doesn't put any surprises that put riders in unnecessary harm's way, I'm always a fan of true enduro
They're like,
format.
oh yeah, it's going to flow this way, and they're like, oh, they're all going to think it's going to fade to the right, but I'm going to go left.
I'm going to go left off the cliff instead.
You suck. Like Chuck Norris. Oh my God.
Chuck Norris out west. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And then Rambo or whatever the other one's called.
Yep, all the good ones. All the good ones.
Ass kickers. For those of you guys who have absolutely no idea what we're talking about, what was it Lone Star? What was the Enduro? Because they can search for it. There have been people that have posted, so definitely look for like TSEC, TSEC.
TSCEC.
Thank you. It's been too long. Enduro. And then Chuck Norris. And you'll be able to find some helmet cam footage. I believe Cole Kirkpatrick has some out there. And it is some gnarly ass A-only shit that we've gone through.
And then traditional Rambo country at LTR, at Lubbock Trail Riders. So
yeah, there's some gnarly stuff.
Good old school stuff.
Yeah. So it's fun, but man, it's one of those deals. If it was just a regular old Saturday and you're out there riding, you'd like go do it a couple times. You know what I mean? Like you just have fun with it. But when you're like trying to go as fast as possible, it's like
it's just like Kyle was talking about, when you get to go out there with some buddies and go see what you can do and what you can.
Right.
It's a blast. But when it's in a race situation and you've been racing all day, and at the end of the day you get thrown into that and anyway, run into a little traffic to make things a little more complicated, or just anyway, things can get more intense and we
can have fun with it.
A little fatigue from the rest of the day can make it more interesting as well. Never experienced that, did you?
No fatigue? Nope. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just glazing over here. That's how old I'm getting now. 36. I'm already falling asleep in the middle of seat time. It's coming pathetic. So apologies on that. So, guys, thank you very much for tuning in. This has been episode 187. It's really good to talk to Kyle. Obviously, you guys can tell I'm a huge fan of the dude, and I'm glad to see that not only has he got off Private Jail Island, that he's gotten that awesome deal with Beta, and I hope that kind of grows for him. I don't know, I think, Max has obviously been on Beta for a while. He just signed another 2-year deal. Hopefully that's a nice little home for Kyle for a while. I hope. Anyway, it could be cool. And then, of course, so we've got the Get Lost premiere coming up here in Dallas. If you guys want to get a chance to come to that. A lot of people have been like, but it's already out. Well, the thing is so many people do not have 4K. They don't have a way to really appreciate the way that this film was meant to be watched. And it's meant to be watched in 4K on the biggest screen possible. And that's what we're going to have here in Dallas. So if you're anywhere close, definitely reach out. If you guys need places to stay, you want us to hook you up with people to ride with over the weekend, so you can come down and have a nice 3-day weekend out of the deal, let us know. Please reach out. We can definitely make that happen. I'm going to be down at a mountain bike race Saturday and Sunday before. So if you want to come down on that Friday, come with us to the mountain bike race, and then come back and hang out on Monday, go ride somewhere, and come to the premiere with us. We'd love you to do that. So this is going to be the only chance. And if we do a good job promoting this, there'll be more in the future. If not, you guys are stuck only going to the West Coast, because we all know that the moto industry is much bigger than the West Coast, but that's where they sell shit. So
what's the date again?
November 16th. It's a Monday.
A Monday, November 16th.
So make it happen. And then, of course, what was the other one? We got Moto 7. We're going to have another premiere for that November 12th. So there's all kinds of stuff going on that we're helping kind of just to try to get a lot of stuff out there. But for racing-wise, this weekend we're going to be in Boise, Idaho for Endurocross. And then after Thanksgiving, November 20th and 29th, the Ozark 100. Mansfield, Missouri. So I'm really trying to make
That looks like a
happen.
fun race.
It does. I'm
That
really
looks
trying
like
to
a
make that
fun
happen,
race.
but being the weekend after Thanksgiving is just really pissing my wife off. So
That's a good weekend for racing.
especially like you got all that tryptophan built up, you need to burn it off.
Right. Held some races on that weekend before.
Yeah.
Rode some races
So
on that
would
weekend.
you want to go?
I would want to go. Have a couple of issues to work out with my ribs and my knee, but
That's true. Yeah. Well,
other than that, I'd
we'll
like
get
to
you
go.
sorted. Just hopefully you don't remember what happens and you'll be good to go. Right? Yeah. Just a normal day in the life of Brian Storrie. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun coming up. Again, as we mentioned before, definitely put in the comments as you watch the episode stuff that you'd like us to talk about as we kind of get into November, December. I mean, a lot of racing is going to stop. They've got all kinds of different riders that we can call in and talk about different aspects, things that are going on in their lives, bike setups. I mean, there's just a plethora of stuff that we could talk about. We do have a lot of cool reviews coming up, though, so definitely subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that, because that'll be fun. And then we'll be back next week. So it's November 10th, right? November 10th. Yeah. Sure. What do you think?
Sounds
We'll go with
good.
it? That
Yeah.
sounds legit, right?
Yeah. If you add 7 to
Next Tuesday.
you get there.
Just like every other Tuesday.
Right.
I like it. I like the way you guys put me in line. All right. So definitely, this is Seat Time. You can find us at seattime.co. That is the website. Of course, we are on Facebook, facebook.com/seattime. We are on Twitter at seattime_co. And, of course, Instagram. It's just at seattime. We kept it simple there. After everything else, that's the easy one. Big thanks to Fly Racing, flyracing.com for the support of Seat Time. Of course, Kenda Tire USA at kendatire.com and Stillwell Performance at stillwellperformance.com. And remember to keep it pinned, because those guys are awesome. Definitely reach out to them for any offers, suspension questions, or needs that you may have. Of course, a little 2016 stuff coming out. You're going to be getting new bikes. You're going to need some suspension done. It's a good place to check out and have that done. And somebody saying later in the chat room, bye, Angel. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks for sending us all that fun stuff and information. We appreciate it. This is Seat Time. Remember, always enjoy a pint full of awesome, and we will see you next week. Peace.